Hello everybody, this is Sanu Das. Welcome to Geography with Sanu. In this video, we try to understand what is carbon dating, and it is the most important dating method in absolute dating. So let's go. So first, what is carbon dating? So carbon dating is a widely used method for determining the age of organic material that were once living. So it is a method through which we can determine the age of an organic material. This method was first developed by Willard Libby in 1940, and he also received the Nobel Prize in 1960. So the Willard Libby introduced the concept of the carbon dating method and carbon dating methods. So it is in introductions, all carbon atoms have 6 protons in the nucleus, but the nucleus may also contain 6, 7 or 8 neutrons. So there are 3 naturally occurring isotopes of carbons on the earth. One is carbon 12, another is carbon 13 and carbon 14. There are in carbon 14 mainly 6 proton and 8 neutrons are present. So we know and one point is also that one point also discussed that the carbon is everywhere in the all living organisms or non-living organisms. Carbon are present in everywhere. Lead in graphite also carbon are everywhere present in living or non-living organisms on the earth. So what is carbon dating? We know that carbon dating is a method through which we can determine the age of an organic material. So it is a method is simply we know that, but how it's work? Now we know the principles of carbon dating. Carbon 14 is continuously being formed in the upper atmospheres by effect of cosmic ray neutrons or nitrogen 14 atoms. So carbon 14 continuously being formed in the upper atmospheres by the effect of cosmic ray neutron or nitrogen 14 atoms. Carbon 14 formed. It is rapidly oxides in air to form carbon dioxide and enters the global carbon cycle. Plants and animals then assimilates or consume carbon 14 from carbon dioxide throughout their lifetimes. When they die, they stop exchanging the carbon with biospheres and their carbon 14 content then start to decrease at a rate determined by the law of radioactive decay, which is called radioactive decay. The percentage of carbon 14 decrease is the rate which is known as the radioactive decay in the law of radioactive decay. So radiocarbon dating is essentially a method designed to measure the residual deactivity. So when the animals and plants are die, they stop to consume the carbon 14 and carbon 14 generally carbon 14, and then in his life how much carbon 14 remaining, this percentage is also vary in a time. When the time is increasing, the rate of the decay is increasing also at a times we at a process of radioactivity. So this is a diagram through which we represent the all process of carbon dating method. First is the cosmic radiations and neutrons, and the neutron capture nitrogen 14 to carbon 14, and then carbon 14 plant absorb carbon dioxide and incorporate carbon 14 through photosynthesis. Animals and peoples eat plants and take in carbon 14, and through this beta decay carbon 14 to nitrogen 14 are formed. So animals get their carbon 14 dose from the food that they consume. When the organisms dies, absorptions of carbon 14 cease or stop, and the amount of carbon 14 gradually decrease or decays. The half-lives of decay of carbon 14 to nitrogen 14 is 5730 years. So the concentrations halves every 5730 years. Half-life, what is half-life? The time taken for half a radioactive sample. The time is taken for half of a radioactive sample to decay into something else. So it is a time to taken a radioactive isotope or half decaying out of total. So radioactive carbon or C14 beta decays to nitrogen 14 by emitting an electron and antireactions to with mass. It is a part of chemistry. So in this diagram we represents all this process of carbon dating methods again. So it is a diagram, and next is the percentage. In this diagram, the percentage rate of carbon 14 decay with time. First is 100% with 100% which represent in 10 gram, and then 50% 5 gram, and then 2.5 gram, and 1.25 gram, and 0. So when the increasing with time, the carbon 14 amounts also decrease. One half life equal to 5730 years. So in x-axis we represent the times in years, and y-axis we represent the carbon 14 remaining amount. So in carbon 14 dating method, there are two methods to measuring the carbon 14. One is radiometric method and another is AMS method. Radiometric method dating method is used to detect the beta particles from the decay of carbon 14 atoms. So it is a method of decay the beta particles from the decay of carbon 14 atoms. AMS the accelerator mass spectrometer count the number of carbon 14 atoms present in the sample. How much carbon 14 presents at the sample? Through this method we can calculate. So it is an expensive, and it is also very expensive than radiometric method. Now we know the applications of carbon dating method. So carbon dating is used to archaeologists when they need to know the approximate date of fossils or any others object. Object means is an organic material. Carbon dating is used to find the age of trees, mammals, fossils or other organic material. Carbon 14 is used to study the passage of carbon dating photosynthesis in plant. Radiocarbon dating is sacred the mammals from the ancient Egypt. It is also the applications of carbon dating, and charcoal, wood, twigs, seeds, bones, cells, leather, peat, lake, mud, soil, hair, pottery, pollen, etc. also dating through this method. So there are some drawbacks or limitations in this method, which are these techniques used only for dating organic material. It only proceed in organic material. It cannot be used to date rock except carbonaceous rocks. In carbonaceous rocks this dating methods is work, but another rocks this method does not work. Maximum age limit for carbon 14 dating is 52,000 to 62,000 years. Several physical and chemical biological processes can cause the contaminations. It is also an limitations or drawbacks. Carbon exchange between the sample and the atmosphere is common cause of contaminations in bone, wood and cell samples. So these are the limitations of carbon dating method. Now at a glance, or we explain the methods of carbon dating. So carbon 14 methods is used for determining the age of an object containing organic material by using the properties of radiocarbon and radioactive isotope of carbon. The half-life of carbon decay of C14 to nitrogen 14 is 5730 years. So the concentrations halves every 5730 years. When the organisms dies, absorptions of carbon 14 also stop, and the amount of carbon 14 gradually decays in every half life, which is half life indicates the 5730 years. Carbon dating is used to find the ages of trees, mammals, fossils or other organic material. So this is an important absolute dating method which is known as carbon dating or C14 dating. So I hope you understand the methods of carbon dating.